So I welcome Jerome.
So, what is an RTR? What is a regional technician recruiter? Well, we are a dealer support team. That's our whole job. And I say our because there's a few of us that make up that team. But we're a dealer support team. It's our job and our responsibility to get into the dealerships based upon the customer's assessments, based upon what the customer puts in their interviews and their surveys and so on and so forth, and say, hey, Mr. Dealman, this is what you're doing good, this is what you're doing bad. Let's find a way to fix it and make it work for everyone. So we'll do these visits, we'll make these assessments, and based upon these assessments, we'll find a process that works, a process that's better and tries to meet that customer's need. And if it comes down to it, hey, Mr. Dealerman needs more technicians or more service advisors or more lot porters, car washers, whatever the case may be, then we as a recruiters go out and find those positions to help source that dealership. So there's the recruiting and the sourcing. We do all the screening, so we'll do the background checks and all that good stuff, and then we'll submit them to that dealership and say, hey, here's a great candidate, here's this individual, what we think of them, so on and so forth. And then lastly, our responsibility is to build and foster relationships within the community. Now, I say this because Jeanette can attest to it. If anything that Jeanette's asked me to be to, I've been to this day. In fact, I drove in from Phoenix late last night just to be here for this, and then I'll be flying to Seattle next week to do something else. Okay? So my goal and my passion is to build and foster that relationship. So some of the things that BMW has started, or BMW NA has started here in the recent past, is a career day. This isn't open to just the UTI or the LTI or those automotive programs at the college level. This is also open to the high schools. We're asking high schools, we're asking colleges, please come in and visit our facility, visit our technical training facility, so that your students can see what the modern day technology looks like, so that you can see what the modern day technology looks like. Okay? So like Paul said, it's no longer mechanics. We all have changed our title to service technician, because that's what it is. That's what it is. At the same time, we do something called an instructor seminar. Every summer, for 2 to 3 weeks out of the summer, we invite automotive instructors to come into our facility and learn. We also do engine donations. We donate engines, we donate our technology to the schools so that it can get in there and get to the students. So there's a bunch of different things that BMW is doing to begin to foster that and build that relationship with the community. And lastly, one thing that we're trying to start up is an internship. Now, all of my dealerships are absolutely about it. All of my dealerships are like, yes, yes, please bring the students in. Please allow them to work in our base. So now it's just the schools to say, okay, we can make that happen. So so this is the ground that we cover, the entire North America, okay? If you look to the left, anything in blue, that's this guy's responsibility. I have 139 dealerships in my area, countless schools. So as you see, I'm constantly on the road. I have 3 other counterparts in the nation: Joe Karras in the central, Renee Ellison in the east, and Stephen Thomas in the south. And we all have the same exact responsibility: to get the BMW technician program out. To let people know that this isn't just something that it's just out there. I have to go through all these different levels of school in order to be a service technician, because it's not the case. So, BMW North America's current needs. Well, right now we're facing a need of 700 technicians nationally. 700 technicians nationally. Now, if BMW did not sell another car this year, we have the manpower as we need to service the vehicles that we have in operation, hands down. However, we're expecting something that we like to call a certified pre-owned tsunami. It's supposed to start sometime late this year, late spring this year. We're expecting over 600,000 cars to come off of lease. 600,000 cars to come back to the BMW centers. That's 600,000 cars that have to be looked at, that have to be repaired, that have to be inspected and put back on the road. So of course, there's definitely a need for that service technician. Other dealerships positions that are out there, you have your service advisors, warranty administrators. All of our dealerships now are looking for IT personnel, lot porters, like I said, car wash attendants. There are so many different other jobs out there than just being a car salesman or a mechanic, as people like to call them. So then you ask, well, what's driving that current need? Like he said, it's technology. Technology is driving that current needs. We've just released the BMW 7 Series, 2006 7 Series, brand new car. This car has so much technology in it, I can stand up here for hours to talk about it. 28 onboard computers. 28 computers. So 90% of the problems that a customer is going to complain about with this car, it's not going to be a mechanical issue. Because we've mastered brakes. We've mastered AC systems. Those are not going to be the problems that our customers are bringing to us. Our customers are going to say, hey, my phone won't sync to my Bluetooth. Or hey, the TV on the back of my screen, the touchpad doesn't work. Or the 128 ambient lights on my sunroof, there's about 30 of them out. Those are going to be the problems that are going to come back to us. It's the technology that's going in these cars. This car has a carbon core frame, which is one of the biggest changes. So we've taken the entire drive compartment of the vehicle and we've built it out of carbon fiber. The front end of it is still metal and steel like it used to be. The back end of it is still metal and steel like it used to be. But the middle of it is all carbon fiber. What does that do if that car gets into an accident? Can you just cut out that section of carbon fiber and put it in a new section? Absolutely not. You can't weld carbon fiber. So these are the things that we need to start getting into the students' minds of how the automotive industry is changing. A gesture control system. There's that technology again. Imagine using your radio, imagine using your navigation without touching a button or a knob. Someone calls you, you do this to answer your phone. Or you do this because you don't want to talk. Right? This is all what's currently in this car and on the road right now. Or the display key. These are the three biggest changes in this car. The display key. The display key gives you access to the vehicle status. So when you're like, I don't know if I need gas for tomorrow, you just push a button on your key, and it tells you what your current vehicle status is and how that far that gas is going to carry you. Okay? It also tells you any service requirements. And right now, there's a European model. If you notice it says display key 2. Display key 1 actually controls the car. It allows the car to be started. It allows the car to be back or pulled in and out of tight parking spots without you even sitting in the driver's seat. This is the technology that's on the road today, and these are the things that are driving the need for these technicians. Something else, the electric side of BMW, right? I know we've seen these little cars rip around the streets, the i3 and the i8. Okay, I was telling someone earlier, I was driving an i8 a few weeks ago, and I swear it was like, I felt like paparazzi was chasing me. Because every single time I stopped at a light, it was like click, 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 click. Everybody wants to take a picture of this car. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid car. It's a hybrid sports car. Right? It's a hybrid sports car. A lot of people don't know anything about it. So these cars have a carbon fiber reinforced plastic. The entire frame is carbon fiber. The entire frame, from bumper to bumper, is carbon fiber. It allows the car, it's stronger than steel, believe it or not, carbon fiber is, but it's half the weight. It allows, it increases the vehicle's responsibility or response as far as acceleration, handling, and efficiency. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the technology that's on the road. This is what's driving that change. So as I'm out here recruiting and talking to these students, and they're like, yeah, you know, I got an automotive degree. Great, outstanding. I need to know how much you know about electronics. This isn't the days of copper conduction anymore. This is all fiber optics now. And fiber optics is like a what? What's that? Fiber what? Right? Is what I get from the majority of the students. Let's talk about the types of things that are in these cars. Continuing on. The plant. The plant's in Leipzig, Germany. This is a plant that produces these cars. This plant uses nothing but exclusively renewable energy sources. Nothing. That's all that gets ran through this plant to produce these cars. The interior of these cars, the leather is dyed with olive oil, and the wood trim is eucalyptus wood. So BMW is seeing the change and is making that footprint. At the same time, we've just purchased and opened a plant in Moses, Washington, that we make all the carbon fiber for these vehicles now. So the frames are now produced up there. The carbon fiber inlay is now produced up there. The sport shifters that have the carbon, everything that we do carbon fiber is now produced in our Moses Lake, Washington plant. So BMW is seeing the change. BMW is making the change. BMW is driving a lot of the innovations that are happening in the automotive community. So I was telling someone earlier, and you know, we were having a conversation, and she was like, you know, what does it take to be a BMW technician? You know what? We've never changed this. We've never, here's our basic requirements. We've never changed it. We've never raised it, we've never lowered it. It's always been the same exact thing. The only thing that I added to the actual basic requirements is the bottom thing, a basic understanding of electricity and electrical components. That's the only thing that I added, and I added that when I did the slideshow. Everything else, you can find it on the BMW STEP website, and it gives you a full list of what we need, or what a person needs in order to be a BMW service technician. Have completed high school or GED. So we don't have these outrageous requirements or outrageous goals for these service technicians to reach. This is just stuff that no one knew existed. So we're going to watch a quick video. This video is one based around what BMW does as far as taking care of its own. And it's a real quick story about someone who fell in love with the passion of cars, who got into the industry, how he did it. And we actually, this is one of the things that we also do, and we'll do it again this, I want to say late summer. We bring a lot of the educators and schools out to our test track in Palm Springs, California, Thurman, California, and we allow them to drive our M cars and all the fun cars, rip them around the track, have a good time. So you'll be hearing from a lot of educators and individuals on this video.
Every manufacturer aspires to be or to meet what BMW is putting on the road right now.
Once you drive a BMW, you are automatically hooked to the brand.
Just being part of that product is really special.
It takes an ultimate professional to work on ultimate driving machine. That's what it takes to be a BMW technician. We are the cutting edge of technology. We embrace it, we use it, we make it useful to the customer. You're not just a mechanic to do that. You have to have specifically trained technicians to work on the vehicles.
And now the technician is almost like that guy who gets up in the morning, he puts his suit on, and he walks into his office. You become a doctor.
When the whole idea of being a technician is ingrained into you, you realize, wow, this is more than just being a mechanic. It's way beyond that. It's much more complex than that.
You know, there's a lot of dealers that need qualified technicians. That's a great stepping stone to get into the BMW world. I'm sure the placement's close to 100%.
The demand is absolutely there. We're always looking for more technicians. The demand will always be there.
We have 338 centers across the country. If you're a technician, you basically have an open door to move anywhere within the United States, but also opportunities in other places of the world that you wouldn't even think of. We have colleagues right now working in China, for example. I mean, how cool is that?
So being a technician, I would say, is like the foundation. And with that, you could go many places. I mean, within a dealership, you could be a foreman, you could be a lead tech, you could be part of the diagnostic team. But then outside of that, it's sky's the limit. You could be anybody you want to be.
That excitement comes when you actually fix something that maybe the guy next to you couldn't fix. You keep it, your mind sharp, you're constantly learning. There's always new technology coming out.
You're going to get constant training every year, or more or less, because every year there's something new coming out of BMW.
We try to make sure that they stay on top all the time and further their education. And they never stop learning because the technology keeps advancing. The technicians have to advance with the technology. So it's a lifelong challenge.
You know, we were ahead of all the other manufacturers when I started with this company. We were offering things like ABS when people didn't know what ABS stood for. Dynamic stability control. These things were ahead of their time. We were the first car company to actually offer traction control on all of our models. We're doing the things that are good for the customer, that enhance their safety and the handling of the vehicle. Not because there's a profit there, but just because it's the right thing to do. And I just buy into that philosophy.
You want that car brand to go out, your mom's going to drive it home. You want to take care of mom and make sure that's the safest car on the road, and That's what you gotta do for every customer that comes through the door.
Basically, the family of BMW, that's what made me stay here. And we can't beat that.
It is the best job in the world.
So that being said, do I have any questions?
Real quick, looking at the period of time when many of those technicians have been in service, Middle East one I saw was about 15 years, 12, 15 years, and many of them approaching 20 and 30 years in service. How big a gap do you see a grain? Do you have a grain technician problem, or is your average age still in 30 or 50?
Probably averages about 30s and 40s. A lot of the technicians that are still in those positions, that's because they're making big bucks and they don't want to move. To be quite honest, they've probably been offered a position at North America once or twice, and they're like, no, I like the amount of money I'm making here. I don't want to take the cut. So.
How much infused education do you be taxing per year? How many hours, and then what's the salary range?
A technician, right, and low sides probably, well, they start off probably about $22 an hour, $18 to $22 an hour. They can go upwards to 57, 60 bucks an hour. As far as how many hours they do a year, lots. I really couldn't even tell you. Every year we're releasing a new car, so every technician has to come in for training. So, and that's not including the other things.
The company mandates training.
Yeah. Internships for high school students are tough. They're tough because of insurance issues. Can it be done? Yes, but it's completely up to, every dealership is franchise owned, so to speak. They're not owned by NA. So it's not something that I can drive onto them and say, hey, you will take a high school. Colleges, they're very open to because, you know, they're of working age. But when it comes to the juniors and sophomore, juniors and seniors, it becomes a little bit difficult. So that, I mean, we could talk offline a little bit more. It's something that I can see if there's some dealerships in your area that are willing to work with you, but that's completely based upon them.
How do we get our instructors information about the summer series?
Here's my email, here's my phone number, and then there's some informational websites, BMWDealersCareers.com and BMW STEP, which is the Service Technician Education Program. Please feel free to shoot me an email. It's my work cell phone, so please feel free to shoot me a text. I suggest shooting me a text because 90% of the time I'm on a plane somewhere and you're not going to catch me. So the moment I land, I'll be able to get back to you. But if you're interested in getting your educators in that, please give me a call. Same with the engine donation program. I have hundreds of them and I'm trying to get them out of my bag. So, thank you.
So I have a question for you, Jerome.
Yes.
With the i8, i3, and the 7 Series being partially carbon fiber, what are the insurance companies saying? Because they're not going to be able to repair these.
No. That's one of the things that we're actually in the process of, well, really can't say we're in the process of it. So we figured out a way, We've figured out a way to actually separate portions of the carbon fiber without actually damaging its integrity. If you look at the way the actual frame is put together, it's put together in sections. So depending on what section of the carbon fiber was damaged, it's easier to separate that section and replace that section. So if it's the driver's side of the vehicle, it's put together in 3 or 4 different sections to where it's not as detrimental as just replacing the whole frame.
I promise not to be one of those paparazzi taking pictures. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Frederick Gruner. Fred was born in Chicago and grew up in Michigan, local boy. He actually owned an IBM PC at age 11. That's impressive. Fred has been employed with NVIDIA Corporation, Santa Clara, California since 2004. He's a principal engineer and lead architect where he has worked on many video processors, graphic processors, and mobile processors. Fred is currently functional safety architect for CPUs on NVIDIA automotive processors. His areas of expertise include computer vision, video processing, one of the core technologies in autonomous vehicles, graphics, display design, CPU architecture, automotive functional safety, and highly reliable computing. He holds over 50 patents in electrical circuit design. That's impressive. CPU architecture, and also in network packing processing. Before joining NVIDIA, Fred was a founder of Nexus, NEXSI Systems Corp., where he was the chief hardware architect, developing the hardware that was used in world-leading networking content services systems. That technology would ship over $700 million in revenue. Fred worked with the Intel Corporation for 5 years as a titanium processing architect as well. He also speaks fluent Japanese, and he had lived in Japan on multiple occasions. He volunteers as a board member of the Automotive Service Excellence Councils in Orange, California. Welcome, Fred Bruner.
All right, so I'm the person that's here to tell you that all the changes you've already seen, you haven't seen anything yet. Right, the pace of acceleration of the technology change is going to accelerate a lot faster than you guys have already seen. First I want to tell you a little bit about NVIDIA. I work for NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the visual computing company, right? Chances are, if you've seen it, if it's something that you see on a regular basis that has graphics or anything like that, chances are we have something to do with it. Next slide forward. So if you look at the things that we do, we sell into cars, we sell graphics. If you look at visual computing, we were the inventor of the graphic processor, and our product lines are gaming, personal computer gaming, so your PlayStation, your Xbox, or a lot of people have our graphics cards in their PCs. Professional visualization, we sell to the car companies. Pictures like this, that was a computer-generated picture. So the car companies, not only for their engineering, but if they're looking at styling and stuff like that, they can now render photorealistic images that you honestly can't tell the difference between the picture of a real car on the road and a picture that we can generate on the computer these days. We sell supercomputers. The supercomputers are an extension of our regular graphics processors. It turns out that the way graphics processors are designed, they're very good at doing very, very large sets of computations. That's what graphics is. And so the same technology goes into minor modifications, but it goes into supercomputers. Our technology is in the top 10, the world's top 10 most power-efficient supercomputers. Right. And then the last part is smart devices, tablets, cell phones, and one of the smart devices we got listed there is your car. Right. So we sell technology to the car companies. BMW is one of our customers. Most of the large car companies are our customers. Today we're at about 4.5 million cars on the road and growing every day. When we first started selling to the car companies, the first thing we sold the car companies is the infotainment system. So we sold the systems for the display that shows your graphics, your radio, and stuff like that. The next thing where we started selling to the car companies is actually they're replacing the instrument cluster with displays. So that's actually a savings for the car company because those instruments actually cost quite a bit of money to put in. So replacing it with the display and the processor saves them money. What we're doing next and the progression we're seeing, and the driving trend for everything that you're seeing happen in your car or in a lot of other areas is that in the past 5 years, the amount of available computational power has gone up between 30 and 100 times, right? We're seeing a major shift in many areas. One of them is artificial intelligence, which is specifically what's driving self-driving car. The other places we're seeing changes are things like medical devices. GE just announced the Revolution CT scanner. The Revolution CT scanner uses 97% less x-rays to do a CT scan, right? And it's because you have 100 times more computation to reconstruct the image from the sensors. Now you need a lot less x-rays. There are MRI devices coming out that can read the sodium levels in individual cells. This is because you have 100 times more computation to reconstruct the images that you get from the sensors on the medical devices. So medical devices, oil exploration, they can now do simulations that are much more accurate on where oil would be in the ground when they go shape the ground. And if you look at the last 5 years, visual effects in movies, 90% of those are done on our hardware. If you look at the Oscars, all the Oscars for the last 5 years for best visual effects were all done on our hardware. And that's all, the amount of computation has gone up so high that now they can produce images that are indistinguishable from real pictures. It's almost impossible in a movie now to tell where some of the visual effects are. So what we see, this is the trend that we see in technology and automotive. First place we went was the infotainment system, right? The next place is the instrument cluster. We're in the middle of what I would call the driver assistance portion now. The first systems we see, situational awareness. So things like lane departure warnings, stuff like this. Those are the first systems. The next things you'll see are that the mirrors are going to disappear on your car. That's because the mirror is about a 5% drag, so the mirrors get replaced with cameras. In your car, you'll actually see a screen. It'll actually show you everything around the car, so you no longer need to use the mirrors. There'll be like 12 cameras on the outside of your car, and it'll show you all the cars around you on the road. These are all what we call situational awareness. Then you'll have things like autonomous braking systems. That's when we talk about assistance in avoiding accidents. You'll have like a pedestrian sensor. You'll have a camera on the front of the car. And if somebody goes to walk out in front of the car, it'll actually recognize that somebody's walking in front of the car and will hit the brakes for you. And then the final step in that sequence is fully autonomous driving. So what's happening with autonomous cars today? Google has already road tested 1.5 million miles of self-driving cars. Volvo's already announced 100 cars in 2017 that they're going to be on the road. Tesla already has an autopilot feature on the software running on our hardware in their cars that you can get on the highway and you get autopilot and it actually drives the car on the highway and does lane changes and everything. That's already available today. They call it beta, I think, to get around California laws, but it's available to Tesla customers today. GM's got a Super Cruise feature coming next year on there. So experts expect fully autonomous systems to be commercially available for multiple suppliers in the next 5 years. When I say multiple suppliers, it probably means almost all suppliers will have some sort of a fully autonomous system in the next 5 years. And finally, Uber's CEO says that by 2030, they're not going to have any drivers in any of their cars, that the whole Uber fleet is going to be fully autonomous. If you think about this, this is a seismic shift. How many jobs are going to be lost by people who drive? I mean, it's probably going to shift around millions of people into new jobs because fleets are the first place that you'll see full replacements of people who are driving today. Obviously, everybody wants an autonomous vehicle to drive them to work so that you don't have to watch the highway in front of you, but there's economics involved where in fleets and stuff like that people are expensive, and so we're going to have to find a more productive, something more productive for those people to do than just driving. So, the technology that goes into a fully autonomous car, first thing that we have is we have sensors. We have lots of cameras. We have radar. We have LiDAR. We have ultrasonic systems. So we need experts in all those systems when we're designing the car. Deep learning, artificial intelligence. This is where the big breakthrough has really come in the last 5 years. What a neural network and artificial intelligence really means here is we do models of the human brain. So we look at the way the human brain works, and we have a computational model of a learning system, right? This isn't new, it's existed for quite a while. What's actually changed in the last 5 years is that the amount of computation to train the system is extremely large. In the last 5 years, with this massive increase in computing power, now the amount of actual training we can do on those systems has gone up by 10 to 20x. Within the last 3 years, they have a challenge, they call it the ImageNet challenge. They take 1,000 pictures, and they give them to a person, and they say, okay, identify what's in the picture, right? And this isn't cat dog, this is Irish setter, English wolfhound, those kinds of identifications. In the last 3 years, the computers are now more accurate than people are. People who study, the computers are more accurate. So it's the amount of training that we can do on the systems. You guys all use neural networks and artificial intelligence every day, even if you might not realize it. The speech recognition on your phone is a neural network, which has been trained through hundreds of thousands of conversations. They train the neural network, that's how they do speech recognition. The translator function on your phone, that's a neural network which has been trained the same way. So what's happening now is that we take the neural network and we go drive a car and we take a whole bunch of video and we say, okay, here's the stop sign, here's a police car, here's a truck, and we train the neural network, and then when we drive the car, the neural network now says, that's a stop sign, that's a truck. That's what makes a self-driving car possible, that basic technology. So this is where the real shift has been in the last 5 years. Our current product, which we're just shipping to car companies, which is the base for the autonomous programs I just mentioned, and most of the car companies are using this as a development vehicle, does 24 trillion calculations a second for neural networks. That's equivalent to about 150 MacBooks, right? That's what we're going to put in the car, right? And these are the prototypes, right? The next step will be even more than that, right? So we are going to put a supercomputer in the car to drive the car, right? So he mentions 24 computers in the car. The next step is a supercomputer in the car. 15 years ago, this would be on the top 100 list of the fastest computers in the world. That's what we're going to put in the car. The other parts that go into this, functional safety. So as soon as a car starts driving itself, now safety is an issue, right? Today, we have a driver. The driver is supposed to keep the car safe, and we give you some assistance in doing that. Obviously, once the computer is driving the car completely, now you're a little bit more worried about the computer. So there's a lot that goes into safety and making it highly reliable. There's no such thing as a completely safe system. There's only different levels of what we would call acceptable risk. These levels are actually defined by the automotive companies, and we use the levels that they tell us. But obviously, there would be a different level of risk that would be acceptable for like an airplane flight control system versus a braking system on a car. So we work to standards that were given by the automotive companies. They tell us, for a self-driving system, this is how safe it needs to be, and then we designed that standard. Right. This is new for us because it's not typically in the other types of systems. It's not as important somebody playing a game on their home PC. If it happens to lose a few frames, and people don't care, but if it's in a car, it's a big deal, right? If the car shuts down when it's driving itself. Other pieces of technology that go into a fully autonomous car, obviously software security. Nobody wants a hacker to hack into your car when it's driving itself and tell it to go drive somewhere else, right? There's lots of other near-field radio and cellular communications. there's a good chance in the future that the cars next to each other on the road are going to talk to each other as part of that autonomous driving. They're going to, that way they can tell each other what they're doing and make the roads more safe. And then obviously, he mentioned all kinds of systems. If you've got 90 computers, they've all got to talk to each other. So in-car networking, fiber optics, that stuff's all a really big issue as well. So this is the group of technologies that we look at when we say this is what's going into a self-driving car, right? So if you start thinking about that, we need experts in all those technologies, right? We need software people who know the deep learning. We know the safety issues in the software, communications and network. On the hardware side, we're designing the chips. We have to integrate systems together. We have to make sure they're safe. We have to talk to the sensors. We have to add all the communications technology. And above all else, everybody works in a team. There's no way one person can possibly know all this stuff, right? So when people come out of school, we need people who've had some sort of practice working in teams. That's the hardest thing we have in an interview is trying to figure out, we can find people who are very technically savvy, and it's always hard to tell how they're going to work in a team. It doesn't matter how smart somebody is, if they can't work in a team, then they can't make a very good contribution. So I think that's all I have. So any questions? Yeah.
Hi. When you're testing or you're interviewing and testing for capacities to work in a team, what is test like? What specifics are you looking for?
I mean, we try to do behavioral interviewing where we ask questions about how well people work in teams. I mean, that's what we've got. It works okay. I can't tell you that it works fabulously well, but we gear our interview process to try to figure out how well people work in teams. Obviously, we need very good basic technical understanding. We need people who work in teams, so we do our best to try to figure that out. And we need people who solve problems, because we're not hiring people to solve problems that have already been solved, right? So we really want to know how people think, how people solve problems, and they need to work. We just have to ask questions and try to glean from those questions how well people work in teams. But it's harder when somebody comes in and they've never worked in a team. Then it's very hard to figure out. At least if they've had some experience working in teams, we can get a little bit more out of the questions because we can actually ask them, what did you do in the team? How did it work? How did you handle situations where you disagreed with other people in the team? All these things that happen on a regular daily basis, and nobody ever agrees all the time. So, yeah.
Are you willing to share those questions with us educators so that we can prepare our students the demands of team building and teamwork?
Sure, let me talk to my HR people because they kind of manage that stuff. I'm an engineer, so but I can get the information that I can from them, and I'm more willing to share that. So.
And then secondly, also, do you guys have internships for students? Because I teach computer programming to high school students.
Yeah, we have an internship. About every summer we hire 200 interns, and on our internship program, we do real work. I mean, there's no busy work. I mean, the interns go into the design team, they do real projects, so everybody in the design team, when it comes to every summer, looks for projects that are self-contained, can be done in a summer, but is doing something that's really, really needed. So yeah, we hire a lot of interns. And that's one of our good sources for hiring full-time people as well, because obviously with an intern, we know the ones that worked out well, they're likely to get a full-time job. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you so much, Brett. I have one question for you. What automotive OEMs are you actually working with? You mentioned BMW. Are there others?
We have a lot of customers. I can't comment on what level of interaction we've got with all that, but certainly BMW, Mercedes-Benz, the large U.S. Car companies and large Japanese companies are all customers of ours, and we've got different levels of interaction with each one of them.
So autonomous vehicle manufacturers like Intel, Microsoft, Google, Samsung, to name a few.
Well, so I would consider Intel to be our competitor. We both sell in the same market. In the end, like if you look at the Google car, right? The Google car has $10,000 worth of computers in it, right? So that can't be a product that you can sell millions of. It's just too expensive, right? Car companies, that has to be under $500. That's where we come in. We're trying to get that technology under $500. Once it gets under $500, it can go into a $30,000 car.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. You know, I read an article on autonomous vehicle driving or self-driving cars. So I had this conversation with my daughter. And I said, you know, honey, I'm buying you a self-driving car. So once I explained to her what that is, I said, the cool thing about this is that I will know. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I'll know. So I said, well, imagine the car's going to come and pick you up. You told me you're going to go to your friend's house and pick 2 other girlfriends up. Guess what? I'm going to take my iPhone out. I'm going to connect to the car, and I know what bar you actually went to. And I can talk to you about it while you're in the car. She didn't like that idea. But that's coming. That's completely doable.
One comment, you mentioned something about insurance with the self-driving cars. Volvo's already announced that if you're in a Volvo and it gets in an accident, it's in self-drive mode, that they're going to cover the car, right? So the insurance question is going to be very interesting. The estimates are maybe an 85% reduction in accidents, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens between the car companies and the insurance companies. There could be a nice war that goes on there for who's going to actually own the insurance afterwards.
We can have a whole conversation and a whole symposium on the risks involved and what insurance companies are going to, what their role is going to be. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Michael Bowen, Managing Director for Advanced Sustainable Institute, founder of the Advanced Sustainable Institute, dedicated to thought leadership, demonstration, entrepreneurship in new energy and clean techs. Mr. Bowen is an entrepreneurial consultant and educator in the sustainability space. He serves as Executive Director for the Advanced Transportation Center, Industry Liaison for UCLA's Smart Grid Energy Research Center, and consultant to EBSE. It's a spinoff of MOEV, M-O-E-V, and has assistant Aero Veroment, Textra, LADWP, GenOn, Land, Save Me, and Sempron, Toyota, and a few others. Mr. Baum is an executive director, is the executive director of the E4 Advanced Transportation Center, coordinating regional efforts towards developing the clean tech industry sector. He was educated at Northwestern University and Stanford Graduate School of Business. Michael has taught sustainability and programs at the Darden School of Business, UCLA at the University of Santa Clara. Mr. Baum serves as a board member and chairman of the German American Business Association in Southern California. Clean Tech and Sustainability Industry Groups, co-chair of the LA Economic Development Corp, E4 Mobility Alliance, and an advisor to Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. Let's welcome Mr. Baum.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think our luncheon speaker said that people in the past would have 2 jobs in their career, but the new generation will probably have about 20. You can see I have 20 at one time. The reason for this is that I found it quite interesting. I've worked for a long time in high tech, and I apply that now to clean technology and sustainability. And I find that there's plenty of work to do that, and I feel good about my work. One of the big things that I focus on is understanding the intersection between technology, economic and business and society. And so through my work with the LA Economic Development Corporation, I got interested in how do you create an industry cluster? How do you create the jobs that are going to drive your workforce development requirements going forward? And one of the things we looked at is what are the parts of industry clusters that we can foster job growth in our region. So it's kind of clear we're not going to get the gigafactory from Tesla. They looked at Southern California, we gave it our best shot, but it didn't happen. Additionally, it's tough for us to do very big, large-scale automotive manufacturing. There's a company named Faraday and Future, a Chinese billionaire put $1 billion into that to create the new Tesla with a lot more, you probably know them, yeah, with a lot more autonomous features. However, their manufacturing is going into Nevada. So that represents a little bit of a challenge on the manufacturing side. What ends up happening, though, is that it lets us focus on the things that we're going to be good at. One of them is automotive design. The Art Center in Pasadena is one of the preeminent institutions in graduating automotive designers, and we have 15 automotive design centers in Southern California. That's maybe the Bay Area is starting to creep up because they have a lot of tech that goes into autonomous vehicles, but that's really second only to Michigan, where for the U.S. for automotive design jobs. So even if we don't build them all, we still design them, we prototype them. Another area for advanced transportation that we see a lot of activity and seems like the right size for Southern California is electric buses and trucks. And electric buses and trucks are built on smaller production lines, and they often have customized features, or some of them are even retrofits yet, as of this time. That's ideally suited for our small to medium-sized industry. The other thing that drives that, along with our cap and trade funds that come from energy and fossil fuel use to generate energy, and is redistributed to high-tech and clean-tech projects, is the fact that we have the ports, Long Beach and Los Angeles. Between the two of them, 40% of container traffic in the U.S. and 80% of container traffic with China go through Southern California. What are the areas that we see growth and stuff coming into? Number one, the electrification of transportation. It had a little hiccup, but I think it's coming quite quickly. Where are the jobs in that? Well, the automotive repair probably goes down because electric vehicles are more reliable, have less moving parts, and less effort required to keep them on the road than internal combustion and a mechanical drivetrain. I think that what you mentioned about the basic training in electrical engineering and electrical principles, I designed a curriculum for Long Beach City College. That was one of the things that really came out and we emphasized. The thing's interesting is electric vehicles mean that the car also includes the charging equipment now, which before you just go to a gas station. So you got to think about where do you get your energy, how do you get it into the car. In the future, there's vehicle to grid, where you get it from the car and you put it back on the grid to help support solar that's not producing full or something like this. So there's quite an interesting area. Instead of thinking about cars as a mechanical, fuel-burning method of transportation, they're almost like a new iPhone, right, with wheels. It's a lot about the battery, it's about the software, it's about the wireless connectivity. As we go, there's two modes of autonomous vehicles. One is autonomous, where they go by themselves. The other one is the connected car, where they're connected to a lot of wireless signals in the region. And so these are both areas that are going to need people both to design, manufacture, and support post-sale. So these are new skills, especially I want to emphasize electronics, power electronics, which is different than just EE, software, and wireless communications. And what's quite interesting is that these trends also go through the electric industry, where they deliver the power to fuel the new generation of cars. So to the extent that you look at the curriculum, I think that's a quite interesting thing. I think another thing that's an interesting point to note is that we're always playing catch up, right? We try to predict, we listen to folks who say, what kind of jobs are they hiring for today? We go and develop a curriculum, we roll it out, and we educate the students, and it's 5 years later. Technology shifts so quick, it's quite a challenge to be able to match those perfectly. So to a certain extent, I believe you need to give people a basic toolkit of skills that will be useful for 10, 15 years, and then you have to teach them how to be problem solvers. You have to teach them how to be quick learners. Because I think any of these gentlemen would probably say there's no such thing as a perfectly prepared individual coming out for their jobs. They want someone who's got the basic skills, and then they're going to quickly adapt that against what their requirements are with internal training and so on. So that would be a second point that I would make. All right, thank you. I'll take questions if you want to question. Thanks, everybody.